Hey, and welcome to this week's episode of the Null Podcast. Coming up in this episode, new phones from Apple and Huawei. Did you know your phone warranty does not cover water damage? And the $10 million money-making AI music scheme. And make sure you stick around till the end for our weekly AI-generated themed outro song.
Welcome to the Not Null Podcast. I'm just an AI voice, but here are your real hosts, Kevin Doyle, Paul Bratzlovsky, and Bobby Davis.
So it's that special time of year, I call it Apple Christmas, when the next generation iPhone comes out. This year, we're on the 16th cycle of iPhone. Actually, it's not the 16th cycle, is it? Because we skipped one somewhere. Did we skip 9? We skipped 9. We skipped 9, right? So maybe it's the 15th cycle.
And they made a 13, right?
And they made, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. Yeah, they didn't skip 13, but they skipped 9. So I think we're on the 15th cycle, maybe. Actually, maybe there was, maybe we're on the 16th. I don't know, because maybe we had a 3 and a 3G. I don't know. I don't recall. But anyway, it's the iPhone 16. It's that time of year. New iPhone's coming out. This time, it's the iPhone 16. Was announced just yesterday or a couple of days ago. If you're watching this on the first day this podcast comes out, so we have the 16 and the 16 Pro. For the first time, close like feature parity between the 16 and the 16 Pro, like really close this time. Kind of crazy, and I think it's all because of this, all because of Apple Intelligence. So for the first time ever, they have a similar chip. The 16 has an A18, the Pro has an A18 Pro. So slightly different cores in them, I guess, but very, very similar. If you remember in the past, every iPhone, what they've done is they've taken the Pro chip of last year and put it in this year's latest one. But they skipped the A17, and that's not going to be in an iPhone 16. That's what they would have done in previous years. And it's all because it needs this, I don't know, whatever the NPU chip is for the running the neural processing stuff for the AI. So that's kind of interesting. Same way like camera-wise too. So cameras is a big upgrade this year. In a couple of different ways. New camera lenses, a 48 megapixel, what they're calling a fusion camera, and a 12 megapixel ultra wide on the iPhone 16. They added a 5, and then you get at that plus a 5 times telephoto on the Pro. And on the Pro, you also get a 48 megapixel ultra wide. So the ultra wide's a better camera as well. So kind of, they're pretty close this time. But one of the biggest things they talked about, and the biggest thing everybody's talking about is they added a button to it. Adding a button to the phone after this amount of time just feels like such a weird thing. So they've added this camera control button, and it is a button, despite the fact that Apple, for some reason, does not want to call it a button. I have no idea why. It's a button. It physically presses. You press it. It also has capacitive controls on it too, so you can slide it. So you can control things like the aperture or the exposure or the zoom level. Like there's a bunch of different functions you can do with it. It's kind of cool. Looks neat. It looks pretty cool. But the fact that they've, for the longest time, Apple have taken buttons and interfaces off devices. Now the big news is they're adding them back. It just seems like such a weird thing to be putting back in, but here we are. All devices better battery life, and of course, all devices are going to have Apple Intelligence. So from the 16 Max, 16 Pro, and 16 Pro Max all have Apple Intelligence, but probably not at launch. When iOS 18 is put out at launch, they're not going to have Apple Intelligence features baked in. We're not going to see them until 18.1. So apparently in about a month's time. So Apple's having a hard time, I think, getting this stuff right. So I don't know where that's going to go, but yeah. So what you guys think about the iPhones? Interested in getting a new one? I know you're not an iPhone guy, Bobby, but Paul, you getting a new one?
Not at the moment. I'm still rocking iPhone 13. It's been lasting a good. I keep replacing it. Every time I'm like, oh, just give me a new one. The same one. Yeah, the same one. That's what I want. Less features, less distractions. No, I mean, I'm excited for the AI implementation. So this, just because I'm that guy that I just want to have the cool thing and kind of curious. So I would get it just because of that feature, of the AI. I don't really care too much about the camera. That'll be kind of interesting.
So you could, if you don't care about the camera too, then Paul, you could get just the regular 16. You don't have to go with the Pro, because the feature parity between the two now, the only real difference, apart from battery life being a thing, is the camera array. So the camera array has this ultra wide on the Pro, doesn't have it on this one, but the other two cameras are almost identical. So it's like if you just want it for the AI stuff, all the AI stuff you can get on both of them. There's no difference between the two. So
the feature that I'm most interested in the phones, and this will be weird, is satellite messaging. So like I think that's the feature that I'm really interested in. We'll talk about this a little bit in a segment. I've been riding bikes, and some of my travels takes me to mountainous areas, and I notice I don't have cell phone coverage. And if you reckon the mountains where I'm at, in some places, they won't find you. You'll be like discovered 100 years later. Man dies in creek. We don't know what happened. And so but the satellite messaging is really cool. And I do know that they're using Globestar. I know Starlink is going to release T-Mobile next year, and then Verizon and AT&T are going to do something else. And but I'm interested in that. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I would pay for it. It's not on my Samsung yet, so I know that's been out since iPhone 15, but I think there's something different about 18 that's better.
I think it was different last year. So it was different on, it was different on iOS 15, or not iOS 15, on iPhone 15 than it was on 14. I have a 14 and it has it, but it has on 15, I believe they added non-emergency satellite messages.
Yeah, emojis.
So you can use it. On mine, you can use it and you can use satellite messaging, but only in an emergency.
Okay.
Now you can actually just message on it.
Right.
So it just works for just.
So I thought the new thing was it can ping you can send a ping, which is kind of cool. I've read some articles where people got lost or whatever, and some guy was hiking in the mountains just like last year and had an iPhone, and they pinged it. And that's how they
you can do that
him.
on mine.
Yeah. And that was he could drop his location. And that's how rescues found him.
Exactly.
Yep. So would I rather have satellite messaging or the ability to remove backgrounds? Satellite messaging all day long.
What just hearing this conversation, the most wild part to me is it's back in the day, people used pigeons to communicate. I'm gonna throw this pigeon out there. It's gonna go over there.
They should have called this pigeon feature, shouldn't they? Really? Embraced the past.
It's hard to pack 3 or 4 pigeons on your mountain bike.
Bobby's throwing pigeons around. It's
that's awesome. That's awesome. So here's what happened next then. Not to be outdone, Huawei said, and they had kind of a hold my beer moment, and they went literally a couple of hours after the iPhone announcement and released this device. They released something called the Huawei Mate XL. Now XL really fits on this thing because this is the first ever trifold phone.
Christ.
This is basically folds into 3. So you can see in the image here, this is when it's folded up. It folds out to a 10.2-inch tablet. So basically a tablet-sized device. This thing also, here's the real news on this. No, not that it's a technological feat, because it is. It's cool, and everything about it is cool, seemingly great. Here's the biggest news. It costs between $2,800 and $3,400
only in
China.
Yeah,
insane. Here's the thing I was going to show. I never shared the true reason why I broke up with my fiance, but basically we would have arguments. I would have my iPhone and I'd be like, this is the latest, greatest. And she'll show up with her Huawei phone, always better, always nicer. And I just couldn't take it anymore. And I had to end it because I was like, get the hell out of here. Right. Exactly.
Well, Paul, you see somebody out in public with this, you're gonna be upset.
I want one. I'm not gonna lie to you. Look at that. It's like a newspaper, kind of, maybe.
It's definitely got the Harry Potter feel to it, So but I like the gold flaking and stuff like that. It makes you feel
Well, I do think the colors are interesting, right? Because this is they do it in 2 colors. They have this black and gold, and they have this red and gold. And if you know a lot about Chinese culture, red is a very it's a very fortunate color.
Right.
Casinos in China are just red because they're supposed to bring good luck.
If you're spending that amount of money, it better be fortunate. Are you kidding me? How are you going to walk around with that? It's
I know this should be real gold. I mean, we're talking about
gold.
I mean, we're talking about the most expensive iPhone that came out yesterday, double it, and that's what you're paying for.
That is insane. Who's going to buy that phone? And it's
well, let me ask you a question. How long will it be before someone has this phone in the U.S. and somehow they've bought it? And I guess it's unlocked. I guess you could you register it with Verizon or something like that? Or
I assume you could. I don't
know. Put a SIM card in it,
Well, I don't know because I'm assuming it's eSIM. I'm guessing. I don't know. I mean, SIM cards have gone the way of the dinosaur these days, but I'm guessing it's eSIM. I'm guessing it's compatible. I don't know. I don't think anybody's got one here yet, but it's Chinese only. So whether you can bring, I don't know. But if you see one in public, like snap a picture because they're going to be rare. Not just because you can't get them, but because who's going to spend $3,000 on one?
It's got to be some influencer's going to have one soon on TikTok, right?
Yeah.
You know, I just got my Huawei phone in, like, look at me.
But honestly, like, how do you consume TikTok on that? Because TikTok this is the format. So, what do you have, like, blank screen on both sides, and then you got this tiny video in the middle?
I wonder, you're right. I wonder how it does handle, like, I'm guessing, well, this in the image here looks like it renders desktop versions of apps.
Exactly. So TikTok doesn't even work on desktop. So, like, they're kind of like, shooting themselves in the foot. But to be honest, like, I am intrigued by this idea of foldable phones, and I'm kind of upset that Apple has not or probably won't make their own version of a foldable phone.
There are patents. Me and Kevin talked about a little bit earlier. They do have a patent out, and they just said that they're working on it, but that doesn't mean it's anywhere close to being released.
Yeah, clearly. I mean, they have patents. Yes, have they made a foldable device? I guarantee they have internally. Yeah. I guarantee it. But here's the problem, and the problem that everybody else has had with foldable devices, including Samsung. That they're not up to they break. They're not up to the rigors of the folding screens yet, being to a point where you can unfold it and unfold it even like 20 times a day. Because give it a few weeks and you're seeing people that have creases down the phones. They don't look good. They need to be able to fold thousands of times.
I will say they got this design aesthetic, this website. This website screams high end. Like, I love the saturated pictures and all the stuff. It's like dripping with money. Like, look at the,
it's literally,
it has to.
Look at this lady.
Exactly. Look at
this dude.
He's eating caviar for breakfast. That's what he's doing.
This dude's never eaten anything else but caviar.
So this is definitely like one of those like vanity phones for sure. It's here I am.
The pelted leather on the side. Look at that, man.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would love to play with this. I would. I wouldn't spend the money on it because, again, I don't think it's going to last, and I don't think give it a year that screen's going to still look good. I really don't. I genuinely just don't believe that's a problem they've technologically
solved. But when you
yet.
have that much money, you don't care. You're going to buy. So here's like the thing I was going to say. So I have friends. They have like nice cars, and every time they park it all stupid in a parking lot. Like, they take like 10 spaces. I'm like, what are you doing? And I go, there's 2 reasons you park this way. You're a douche, which you probably are, because rich people don't care about that. You know what I mean? They're like, listen, it is my car. I don't care. I'm going to park wherever I want. Tiny space. I don't, because I could afford to fix it. And people that park their cars all stupid is because you're not rich enough for the car. And it's the same thing with the phone. You're not rich enough for the phone if you're worried that the screen's going to break. True. Because you're just going to replace it.
This is true. Like, I'll just buy another one. No, exactly.
Buy another one.
You're right, Paul. That is exactly it. Yeah.
That's why I would never own that phone, because that would be like the biggest sign of irresponsibility. It's like, I didn't pay my rent, but look at my phone. Look at this amazing phone.
So is it Android or what is it?
Yeah, it's going to be Android.
Gotta be Android.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Android.
It's not their own Chinese OS?
No, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure it's Android.
I am curious that this is the first time I've seen it. And maybe I'm just wrong. Maybe I'm America-centric, so forgive me if you're listening from China. But the first time where like something that came out of here in the iPhone space that doesn't feel like a blatant ripoff. They actually went and invented something. Maybe they copied Samsung's joint, but they put another one on, which made it harder. It's definitely unique. So I'll give them props for that.
Yeah, I don't see this form factor taking off. Do you? I don't see like Samsung coming out with a trifold one or another company coming out with one. I think this will be unique for a while. I think because. Do we need it? Do we need?
I guarantee you, like,
I don't know. It's cool, but do we need it?
They're gonna make it like a quad form, and then eventually it's gonna be a roll up. You just roll it up.
You know where this is going, don't you? This is going the way of razor blades. Remember razor blades? The longest time it was like they had 2 blades, 3 blades, 5 blades, 8 blades.
Exactly.
This is going to be the thing with this. It's going to be like before we know it, we've got a 10-screen phone. It's like wrapped around your head.
Yeah, exactly. The next thing you know, like you're walking down the street with a TV set on your shoulders. Like, it's just my phone.
Got a stack. We'll call it the stack.
The stack. Yeah. It's a phone. It's a chair because I could fold it and sit on it.
It's true.
It's got $100 bills on the outside. We stack them up, baby.
That should literally, but that's a flex, though. Let me tell you. You show up with that phone wherever you are. Like,
oh yeah,
dude. If you don't have like a car to go with it and like everything else, it's just gonna look bad. It's gonna look bad. It's like I honestly would feel feel too intimidated to have a phone like this.
So one of the things that you guys that I'm doing, and I've talked about this, I've written about it, I'm training to ride a 100-mile biking race. And so that involves me cycling 5 days a week. I'm trying to get in shape. And that means rain or shine, you're cycling. So I was out cycling the other day, and I got video of it. And I wanted to show my wife how hardcore I was training. So I was going through this section that had flooded out, and the water was above the pedals of my bike. And so naturally, what do you do when you're pedaling through, 3-foot water? You take your phone out, you drive your bike with one hand, and you film it. So that's just me filming this as I'm like hardcore. And if you look really close here, eventually this water is moving really fast against the grain here, and it turns my wheel and I wreck. And this is my phone going down a creek. You can see it. It's flipping over as it goes down the creek. It's a Samsung S23, and it is filming this underwater. And believe it or not, this film is 5 hours long.
Oh my God.
So this kept recording and basically until the battery died, right? I tell you what's good about this. Two things. Firstly, that it's that waterproof is amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And secondly, the fact the battery life lasted 5 hours recording video is so impressive.
But what should even impress the listeners even more is like, how do I know this video lasted for 5 hours? Because I came back 24 hours later when the water had went down a little bit and found it. It was still covered in water. It was underwater for at least 36 hours.
What a good advertisement. Because if anybody knows me and water and electronics have issues. And so anything that's waterproof is very important. I remember like on my iPhone reading
and this
something.
Is the phone right here, the underwater phone. That's it. S23.
Look at that.
Still works.
I think you just sold me on my next phone. I think I'm sold. I'm sold.
However, this is what I didn't know. So if you're like a lot of people like me, I have a phone and it's connected to my multi-factor authentication. To get in my building where I'm at, I have to have my phone. To log into practically anything, including GitHub, including anything, it's all MFA, multi-factor through that to log into anything. That's Teams and everything. So for me, my phone is like a critical piece of work. And so when it fell in the river, I thought it was lost for good. So the first thing I did was I go back to my Verizon store and say, hey, I lost my phone in the river. What do I do? And water damage, even though it's waterproof, isn't covered.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That is insane. That is messed up.
And that's where the story comes from, right? Basically, that this guy, different phone, but
Different
they're all
phone,
the same,
Apple,
apparently.
But none
Same
of them
thing.
cover water damage.
No, the warranty doesn't cover water damage, despite the fact that they're IP68 certified, and these companies put out commercials of the phones getting dunked in water. Like, go swim with your iPhone, go swim with your Galaxy, whatever. Yet the warranty doesn't cover water damage.
You can take video underwater with this iPhone, with your Samsung. I don't know if you can with Apple, but like
that is insane. Like if you promote it as a feature, but then you don't cover it, that's crazy. Like I wonder what led them to that decision, though. It's
so
like
here's the catch. Here's the catch. What people are saying is, if it is waterproof, and they say it is, it's IP67, but if they don't cover water damage. So if the damage comes from water, they're not going to cover that. But they've tried to make the water damage.
Listen.
Now, what I'll say is, I think it's because IP67 on a brand new phone is different than a 3-year-old phone. It probably loses that water tightness over time. I think there's like a seal that's inside there, and I think it's maybe, or they figure, someone's going to try to take the phone to the beach and just swim with it all the time, like he's swimming with sharks with the iPhone, and like, I'm not covering that,
So,
I guess that's what it is.
I'll give you a hack. It may not be waterproof or covered, but it's not drop proof. So
No.
you know what? You go to the store, but like, how did it break? Your phone is wet. I dropped it. and it broke.
Well, okay, so
did it hit water when you dropped it? Yes, we're not covering that.
No. I'm like, no, I'm going to be like, no, it did not. It broke first. And they got water on it.
Here's the argument, right? The argument is that we're talking about like the manufacturer's warranty here, right? Which generally covers like defects in manufacture, those kind of things, right? So this person basically is now suing. They're trying to get a class action against Apple because they're saying that you're advertising as being this, yet your warranty doesn't cover it. So that's the part that feels wrong here, because your manufacturer's warranty doesn't also cover you dropping it. By the way, what you can get though is extra insurance. You can get, if you have an Apple, you can get something called Apple Care Plus.
Yeah, and
you can spend whatever it is. It's $10 a month for my phone.
Yeah,
and it's insurance that then if I damage it, I drop it, they do replace it. Same way if I dunk it in water, it is replaceable. It is covered under Apple Care Plus. Samsung has a great creative one called, guess what? Samsung Care Plus.
Which I didn't have.
Which you didn't have. Yeah. You had something else, didn't you?
I had Verizon coverage.
Which basically means
how'd that work out?
So here's even worse about it. So I call in there and I said, all right, I'm going to replace my phone because she said, tell you lost it. So I did technically lose it. I lost it in a river, but I lost it.
Right.
And so like, I call in there and I said, okay, what kind of phone do you have? And I said, I have an S23. And they're like, great. And this is on a website, a little wizard. You know, you can imagine the wizard, Paul. And it says, select the phone that you want, S23 black or S23 white. And I'm like, I'll take a black one. Fine, replace it. Sorry, we're out of stock of those. The next thing says, would you want an S24? And I'm like, sure, I see why you're out of stock. What color do you want? Black, white, or purple? And by the way, we're sold out of black and white. And it says the only one I can pick is purple. And I say, okay, I'll pick purple. And it says, we're out of stock. We'll let you know when you're in when we're in stock. And they gave me no date. And that was the end of the wizard. Just like, in other words, you ain't getting a phone from us, bro.
They're really good.
And so I had to I purchased a new phone in store.
Wow.
And that's when I went back, I found it the next day in the creek, which was kind of great. Because it was it was like a mission at that point. I want to find this phone, like I'm going to find it. See if it's still working.
Basically, you lost your phone. If anybody asks, if anybody has any damage, it's just like, no, I don't even know where it is.
I don't know what happened.
Isn't that phone in your hand? No, that's not that phone. I lost
it. Not the phone.
Yeah, kind of crazy. It just shows you, like, I've had a different experience with the Apple Care Plus. I did smash my phone once. I basically did a chat with them and I said, hey, I've smashed the screen on my phone. How do I go about getting a replacement? I had two options. I could either send my phone in, $29, they'll replace the screen, or overnight me a brand new phone for $99. Yeah. I chose the overnight option. I was like, send me the new phone. I need it. I can't go. I don't have time. I don't have a week to send the phone in and have to send it back. Like, I need the phone. So I spent the $99. They sent me a brand new phone overnight, literally the next day. I think it was here by like 8, 9 a.m. the next day. It was early. Like, it was great. It was a FedEx overnight priority. It was fantastic. Worked to Trump. It's the only time I've ever had to use it. So it definitely worked out good. I've heard some horror stories about carrier insurance because they'll do everything to try and not pay you. Yeah.
It's like the Seinfeld thing. You take the reservation, you just don't keep it. So you've seen Seinfeld. That's the way I felt. Like, I paid for the insurance. You just don't honor it. Like, it's okay, great. But I had to have a phone, so I bought it. I bought a new one.
That is insane. All right. And in the music news, alleged fraudster got 10 million in royalties using robots to stream AI-made music. So this is what Spotify is attempting to do normally, create AI music, increase the numbers, and, charge us money for it. But all kidding aside, I think they're just jealous because that is a pretty cool scam he had going on. Obviously illegal, and I'm, not saying that people should do it, but he figured out loophole using AI generated music. I like how, like, when he started the scam with a couple of his conspirators, he actually did real music, but he realized that it's not enough, and and then he basically continued to pumping out AI generated music. And I think, like, honestly, looking at this, I'm like, wow, that's a genius idea. And the fact that he was able to scam up to $10 million, that's mind blowing to me. What would you all think about this?
I think this is what happens with pay per click ads already.
Yes, this is exactly what it is. Yeah,
and just
100%.
no one's ever gotten caught, or they don't arrest Google for doing it. But like that's what I think is happening. I think they have bots clicking on your ads to raise your CPC up. I think it's been going on for years. Why they went after this guy, I don't know. It's wrong. You shouldn't make bots. He violated the terms of service when he created the bot. Say, hey, is this a real person? Yeah, it is. Whatever. AI, people think AI is alive, so technically, I guess certain circles admit that's what they think. But yeah, he basically scammed them out of royalties.
This guy did a few very, very smart things that I'm like, wow, I wouldn't have thought about that.
The depth of the criminal mind.
Exactly, the depth of the criminal mind. Yeah, exactly. Because you look back on this, so you'd think okay, some guy makes a whole bunch of AI music, puts it up there, and you'd be like, well, wouldn't you notice all of a sudden that this massive amount of songs there and they get a massive amount of plays? You'd be like, Spotify would be like, why does this terrible song have a lot of listens? It's terrible. Why isn't it? Who's listening to this? And then you track it and be like, well, okay, it's fake, right? But here's how he did it. This is the genius of this. He did it on what I would call I don't know, I guess a thin layer, right? Because he made a massive amount of music and listened to it only a handful of times using the bots. So each bot didn't go to the same song and listen to it a million times and rack it up. No, it listened to it twice, 3 times. And then he had another piece of song that listened to it twice, 3 times. So it never showed up on a Spotify report that says, hey, this terrible song here that nobody's ever heard of has 10 million listens. Why? No, it has 2 listens. Spotify never thought to even look at it. It's genius level stuff. And the accounts that were listening to it were paid accounts too. He set up he basically funneled money back in, used credit cards in other people's names, and set up family plans. So a family plan on Spotify, you can have basically 7 people or whatever it is,
amazing.
Right? So he set up and paid for a family plan, had the maximum amount of bot listeners on it, and set up thousands of those. It's the level of thought that went into scamming this thing is genius level stuff, because he thought about how the ways he could get caught and mitigated those in ways that are just super smart.
The interesting part I found about the story is that if Spotify did this, created a bunch of AI songs automatically based on some model that may or may not have allegedly been trained on popular music that probably belongs to somebody else, and released it and made revenue off that would be perfectly fine. But some dude that found obviously this is illegal and people shouldn't do it. And yeah, he did a crime. So from crime standpoint, I'm like, yeah, you get what you deserve. But at the same time, it's insane. He could get up to 60 years in prison. It almost seems, I forgot what the term for it, but it's when the court throws the book at you to kind of teach everybody a lesson. Hey, you shouldn't be doing stuff like that.
It's wire fraud and money laundering, by the way. It was the actual charges that he's getting.
Wow.
So federal, hardcore
wow.
stuff.
Yeah, he's getting hit hard.
So do you really think this is a new thing? So do you think let's say Warner Brothers or some other music label, whatever, random music label releases a new artist? Do they have bots that go out and pump up not to get ad royalties, but to say, hey, this song's hot, push it to the charts?
I'm sure there's some.
But not at this scale. Is this what it is? Or is it because he's an individual and that's why you got
It's because
the man got after
it's because
him.
he was an individual, but it was a group of people that were doing it, by the way. It's not one guy's getting hit hard, but there's some other people involved too. There's some co-defendants in this that haven't really been named. It's because he's doing both ends of this. This is why he got caught. He's generating the music with AI and putting up thousands of literally tens of thousands of songs, while he's also taking that, saying, I own the royalties to that, so when somebody listens to it, I'm going to get paid. So then he's saying, well, I'm going to also be the person who listens to it and pay myself. So it's the fact that he's feeding himself and doing both ends of this, both creation and listening, is the real issue here.
I think with those news aggregator sites, I always believe that's what they're doing. They just create this crappy news site, throw Google ads on it, and then have bots look at it and then collect Clapper.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's wild. And this brings up this whole idea of because he was able to flood the market with so many new songs outside of the scam. It's kind of insane. When you have such a saturated market with so much music, real artists and their music,
What's the CEO of a music AI company? They didn't name it. I am curious to see which one did it because there's only a few of them.
They're all, yeah.
We use a service. Hopefully, it's not the one we're using because.
I mean, they're going to get shut down here soon anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing our weekly AI outro song has a shelf life. Like
Right.
it really does. It's going to get shut down here at some point.
Yeah. Don't put our songs on Spotify, Kevin. We don't want this exposure.
But the crazy part, like I was actually like, the fact that he had royalties for AI generated songs, like I am curious, like how does that work? Because like a lot of times, like for some of those websites, they still claim like they are the sole owners of the music unless you sign up for like the corporate or whatever the hell their account, which to me is funny because you trained the model, but that model was trained on somebody else's music, as we talked in the past. And so, this whole thing, I think like what I was talking to somebody else about, like AI related, like video generated stuff. I think the law system hasn't caught up with, kind of like the regulations that AI should have to prevent stuff like this from happening. And from companies that do it, not from individuals, but like what's stopping Spotify from doing this? What's stopping, Netflix creating AI generated shows and just taking the human out of it?
There's some regulation that's coming out that they want to be able to hold the developers of an AI model responsible for what it does. I don't know if I agree with that.
Well, they've got to get rid of Section 230 for that to happen.
Yeah.
Which probably is going to happen.
I know we'll see where it goes. I don't know, but like I'm worried about that. I don't like it to when they can start suing the coder. But you have no idea what this moron's going to do with your thing.
Yeah, no, they shouldn't. Yeah.
So like, how can I stop that?
The interesting thing that I found out, like, because I make music for fun, I don't put it on Spotify, but I use SoundCloud, and they have this thing which I'm kind of skeptical a little bit. It's called "Let Our AI to Analyze Your Song," so we could push it to more users that like that type of music. And to me, that's kind of weird. Like, why would AI need to analyze it, except the fact that they're training some AI on the songs that I produce? And why are they doing that? Because in some future, they're going to pull something like this, except it's legal because they're the company that's doing it. And as long as they're able to do it and get the benefits of it and take out the artists, like, to me, like, that's kind of messed up. And that's why I feel like at some point there's got to be some sort of reckoning, because it is going to kill the creative industry. Like
it is. Well, right now, both Suno and Udio, which are the two kind of bigger ones in this space, are being sued basically for copyright infringement for feeding their algorithm with copyright content.
Right.
I came across this one recently, Murica. This for me takes it to a whole new level. This one does a couple of things which I think are super shady. So this one will not only create the song, okay, so you can do the same thing you can do on Suno and Udio, but this one also allows you to have a style reference. Now, a style reference, you can literally give it a YouTube link and say, I want it to sound like this song, and you can feed it any song on YouTube that you like. And then it will make a song that sounds like that song with your version of the lyrics and kind of makes it a bit different. I did test this, and it came pretty close to some songs.
I'm about to pass my song I wrote that I have on YouTube, but test it out.
You totally should. It got the beat right, it got the melody right, it got the vocal kind of right for a song. I was like, wow, okay, this is dangerous. Here's the thing. So that's shady to start off with. Then what it does, which really takes it into like a gray area for me, is they have a store. What their store does is AI generated songs on here. You can then sell your AI generated song. So I could buy this song right here, which is AI generated,
so
potentially based on some other song already, and I can buy this. I can actually check out with this. And they're also charging like $99 for these things too.
$99?
Yeah. You get like a license. It's all it's craziness. It's nuts. These guys are ripe to get sued, because they're both selling the content and creating it. At least Suno and Udio are just creating it.
So how does this differ than Weird Al Yankovic? Back in the day where he was parodying everybody in the 80s.
Yeah. Well, he has parody right on his side.
Okay.
I think that's different because there's some kind of creation there. I think maybe that's what they're going to argue. Is they're going to argue along those same lines that it's just it's parodying the thing and it's like a recreation.
The issue, it's not a parody, because like when I think of a parody, it's a human being that has to physically recreate the music, they have to play the instruments, they have to do like whatever, they have to put some sort of creative topic. There is no human in this process.
Well, they would argue the AI is doing that. I guess.
No, but the AI is not doing that because AI.
But that's what they're going to say.
Of course,
they're
going to say
you.
that. Yeah, of course they're going to say that. And it's like, but that's the insane part. The fact that AI, like, it's just the algorithm that recreates the thing based on parameters, and those parameters came from. So it came from somebody's work that the AI was trained on, like, and somebody who is basically taking that, which is automatic, works 24 hours a day. You could pump out like 40 songs in like, half an hour.
Man, Michael Smith was making thousands per week.
Yeah.
He making, go North Carolina. He's from North Carolina too. So like, I don't know if we should own him.
Just correct myself. The license here in America, it wasn't $99. It was, you can get it for $5 for non-exclusive, but if you want to use it somewhere, $30, $29.90 is what it costs.
It's still, it's about what royalty-free buyout is.
Yeah.
If you go to the other sites, because we.
So I could go here, create something based on somebody else's style, and then resell that on. It's like, it's nuts. That's kind of crazy. That's just kind of nuts.
That is insane. I am.
Paul's on there right now.
I'm on there right now. I am looking
before it gets shut down.
Before it shuts down, I'm gonna take a link.
So can you make the Star Wars theme? I guess
copy
you could,
it.
couldn't you?
Go to America in the style, paste your YouTube link. The fact that you could paste any copyrighted song, I'm obviously pasting my own song, that is should be illegal from the start.
I agree. The creation part should be illegal. Exactly.
From the
start. And it
takes
it creates like and you can use, it's like, somebody did like, I don't know, the Barbie Ward song here or whatever it is, or these are actual songs, and you can use ones that you've actually entered
Back
yourself.
in Black. There you go, man.
Yeah, I tried. I didn't quite get that one right, but it did this Guess one, which was a hit from Billie Eilish, because it has a very unique beat, and it really got the beat right, and it really got the vocal line right. Like, it really got it dead on. But it gave my own version of it. I was like, wow, that's impressive. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. You should never do it, but it's impressive that it works. Well, that's it for this week's episode of the Not Null Podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us until the end here. I could ask you to do a couple of things. Please leave us a rating and a review wherever you listen to this podcast. If you're watching us on YouTube, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe and get notifications for future episodes. You can also send us a communication. You can drop us an email at thenotnullpodcast@aol.com, or you can click the link below and you can send us a text. And we'll see everybody next week.
In a digital dream where the numbers gleam, lived a man named David chasing fame's bright beam. He had a scheme, a clever, sly routine, with robots on the strings and an AI machine. Oh David, played the game so well. Turned a virtual world into a golden cell. 10 million in the bank from a digital band. But now the truth's unraveling, slipping through his hand. With a flicker of code and a stream of sound, he made the robots play and the royalties mount. AI generated melodies, they danced and they swayed, while David counted dollars that the machines had made. Oh David, played the game so well. Turned a virtual world into a golden cell. 10 million in the bank from a digital band. But now the truth's unraveling, slipping through his hand. In the world of streams and digital dreams, sometimes what it seems is not what it means. Caught in a web of his own making, now the system's shaking, the rules are breaking. Oh David, played the game so well. Turned a virtual world into a golden cell. a digital band, but now the truth's unraveling, slipping through his head. The world of the tale of the man